Hello,
Oh,
this is Kristyn. Kristyn, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kristen, and I'm 31 years old, and I suffer from CVS, and I've had it for about 25 years.
And when you say you had it for 25 years, Kristyn, is that when you were diagnosed or when the symptoms started?
When I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed when we switched pediatricians when I was 6 years old. So it's likely that I had it before that.
Okay. And you still have episodes, correct?
Correct.
As an adult?
Mhm.
And did your episodes change over time from when you were a child until now?
Yes. So a lot of my episodes don't always necessarily include actual vomiting anymore. I still do get, if it's a really bad episode, I do vomit, but as opposed to when I was younger, it always included that. Now, also, I know my triggers, and I know when to take my meds and things like that. Episodes are a little bit different as an adult, and definitely less frequent. So,
That's good. Can you can you describe what a typical episode was like when you were a child, if you remember?
hmm so usually I would get as white as a ghost and have either a migraine of the stomach and a migraine, or just start to feel nauseous. It may take a while for me to actually vomit, and then I would need to be in a dark room and trying to sleep. A lot of the bad episodes included hot and cold, like sweats, I would describe them as. I would have difficulty swallowing anything, including my own saliva. Let's see what else. The headache, migraine. Those are kind of like the key symptoms that would happen.
What was your typical time frame like from start to finish? Was it just a few hours? Was it days? Did it vary?
It definitely varied. The worst ones would be a couple days. But like good ones would be maybe like 24 hours.
Okay. And I know you were young, but do you remember your mom even talking about, were there other things that they were trying to diagnose you with before you were diagnosed with CVS?
That I'm not exactly sure about, because they kept saying like maybe I had the flu or something like that, I remember. And because we switched pediatricians and that pediatrician worked somehow, I think, with Children's Hospital and that GI department, that's when they decided to diagnose me. But I don't think I was ever talked about diagnosing me with anything else that
Got
I'm
it.
aware of. Yeah.
Besides just thinking that maybe it was just a stomach flu,
Right.
um, often, which I think is unfortunately, pretty common for many people. If you didn't have CVS, how do you imagine your life being different?
It would only be slightly different. I think maybe I would be able to enjoy some activities, and I actually don't drink. I stopped drinking for health reasons, like fitness health reasons, but also because it kind of started to affect me, and I didn't like how it made me feel. So maybe I drink more, but ultimately, besides kind of the life interruption, I think my life would be pretty similar. I just wouldn't be getting sick and having to take the meds.
That's that's good. What would you like people who don't understand CVS to know about living with CVS?
I think one of the main things that I struggle with in terms of telling people that I have cyclic vomiting syndrome is the name. So trying to explain to somebody that just because it has vomiting in the title doesn't always necessarily mean when I get sick, I'm always actually vomiting. So that's kind of a big thing for me personally, because a lot of the times it doesn't get that far for me. I'm just extremely nauseous. And also kind of when I try to explain it to people and I decide to, they tend to compare it to another disease, or, oh yeah, I've had the flu. So like, that's another thing that I struggle with, and maybe they should understand that like it's a rare disease for a reason. Like you can't compare it to other things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's absolutely true. It's always interesting what people try to compare cyclic vomiting syndrome to, and I am not aware of anything that is that comparable. What would you tell a patient that is new to their CVS, either new to their diagnosis or maybe they're not diagnosed yet, but they're thinking that's what they have and they're kind of new on their CVS journey?
I think it's really important. So if you're younger, to have an advocate. So that fell to my mom just because of her work situation. So she was my advocate. She kept a diary of my episodes and things like that, and would always bring those to appointments, to have kind of emergency prescription supplies on hand. And then also to make sure if you're in school, especially, that the nurses know the protocol for when you do get sick. And then also to have a plan. Let's say you're really sick and have to go to the emergency department or eventually get admitted. Let's say your doctor or specialist isn't there. A lot of these doctors don't know what CVS is. So if you can have some sort of emergency plan that then they will be following, I think that's really important. And also just kind of learning and knowing your triggers and not being afraid to, if you start to, I call it starting to feel like funny, I can tell, and I take my meds right away. And sometimes I abort it before it even really starts.
That's great advice. I can tell you've been there enough times. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but how did how did CVS impact your life more as a child? Were there things you felt like you didn't get to do or that you were left out of because you were sick?
Sure. So even as a child, I was really lucky. I wasn't hospitalized that often. But there were kind of milestones that I missed. Freshman year of high school was a big hospitalization for me. I was in the hospital for over a month. So I missed out on basketball season. I missed finals and like having to come back to school and then like adjusting that. Obviously all of the kind of, it was right around like January, I believe. So like all the winter activities and things like that I missed out on. And then more as a kid, I would kind of get, maybe a trip gets interrupted because I was sick, or I remember, I think we went to church one time and afterwards there were like donuts or something and I got sick. So just kind of maybe not necessarily missing out on things, but impacting other members of my family missing out on stuff too. My siblings used to joke when I was hospitalized for like the longer periods of time that they felt like, I think Ferris Bueller, because everyone kept like asking how I was. And then they kept getting, because it was just my dad and my older brother and older sister at home. So clearly, and my mom was staying with me at Children's Hospital. So nobody was cooking. So everyone was dropping off food and everything like that. So they kind of, I think, felt a little sick of getting asked about me, not like in a bad way, but it's kind of like, she's in the hospital, she's trying to recover type of thing. So other than that, I think I've kind of been able to kind of maneuver around it and be okay.
Mm-hmm. That's great. It is, that's being in the hospital and people just not quite understanding, I'm sure, has got to be, especially for siblings, be kind of a okay, enough already, like stop asking me. I like the Ferris Bueller comparison. That's a great one. How did CVSA help you and or your family?
I think just being a support system, kind of. There's resources out there. being able to connect with other family members. We used to always go to the run walk that was held in Wisconsin. So that was kind of a community of CVS people and supporters. And then also all the newsletters, I enjoy reading them. And then the different medical research that CVSA tries to fund or participate in, I think is really important.
Absolutely. And Kristyn, had you met anyone with CVS before you came to the first run walk that you came to?
No.
Do you remember what that felt like to meet someone for the first time with CVS?
I think it was kind of weird for me because I was already I had it for like years at that point. So it was weird and cool at the same time. I think to like know that even though it's rare, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting feeling. A note about the run walk. I remember approaching the Carroll College track coach about helping with our run, and I was just shocked when he said, "Oh yeah, one of my athletes has a sister that has it," and I'm like, "Come on, no way!" And of course, it was your sister.
Yeah.
So that was a great connection for us as an organization, of course, to make, and myself as well. And I know that you've been involved with us on various projects and things like that. And we, of course, appreciate all the support you and your family have also given CVSA. If you had one word to describe CVS, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a good one. I'll go with unique.
Unique.
It's a very unique, rare disease, and also I think it's unique to the individual. Like my CVS isn't the same as your son's CVS, and my episodes aren't necessarily the same as somebody else's episodes.
Yes, that's very true. And I think that's why we have so many people that are not getting diagnosed or not getting the proper treatment, because everybody's is so unique. That is really actually a very good describing word. And lastly, Kristyn, is there anything else that you want to share about CVS or about your experience with CVS?
I don't think so. I mean, they say you could grow out of it. I personally didn't. I just don't. I have my mind super under control with the meds that I take daily and the meds that I take to abort them. But then also I would say if you aren't comfortable telling, like if you're older and you don't want to tell an employer, you don't necessarily have to. For example, my only a handful of people at my current job that I've been there for 5 years know that I have it because it's something personal to me and not something that everyone will understand. So I choose very carefully who I kind of communicate it to. But then on the other hand, I do support CVSA. I participated in the, what did they call it? Like CVS Explained.
Oh, yes. The Medicine X story. Yep. Yes, Medicine. You are the star.
And I promoted that on my social media. So that was kind of actually me being really vulnerable because on my Instagram and Facebook, there's a lot of people on there that have no idea that I had a rare disease or anything like that. So I think it's okay sometimes if you want to choose who you want to communicate that to. Sometimes when you're younger, you have no choice in terms of like the teachers may have to know just because of putting plans in place. But other than that, I think it's your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good advice. When you shared the CVS Explained story on your social media, did you have a lot of people then asking you questions about your CVS?
Not questions, just a lot of people commenting, thank you for sharing. Oh, I didn't know type of
Hmm.
comments like that, but nobody really dove like deep into like, oh, what is this like, or like what are
Hmm.
your episodes and things like that. Just more of a thanks for sharing type of thing. Because I think just in general, people aren't always able to kind of be vulnerable on social media because of the fear
Hmm.
of being judged, or
Yep.
people can say whatever they want on social media and they're behind a computer. So, but everything was positive that everyone
Yeah,
like said. So,
that's good. That's very good. Great. Thank you.